Welcome everybody to today's session. Today's session is going to be about communicating with your teenager and understanding that through their brain development and some things that you need to do and should not do when communicating with your teenager. So let's face it, communicating with a teenager can oftentimes be very difficult. Teenagers, again, are known to be moody, to be reckless, to be sporadic and unreliable, especially when it comes to how they communicate with us as parents. And this can be one of the most difficult things as parents we have, is being able to communicate effectively with our teenagers. And so I think with some specific skills and tools and knowledge, we can better communicate with them on a regular basis. So you might be asking yourself, why does he have an alien in his pocket? Well, I believe this alien represents an understanding into why communicating with our teenagers can be so difficult. So here's something that you may not know. Or as I share this, you may go, I knew that's what was going on. And here's what happens. Roughly about when our children turn the age about 13-ish, become a teenager, maybe a little before, maybe a little after for some. But you may not have known this, but aliens do exist. They do come down. And what happens is when our child turns about this age, they replace their human brain with an alien brain. And this really helps us understand why teenagers act the way they do. Then around 18 or 20, aliens come back down and put their human brain back in their head and take their alien brain out. And they become back to normal again. So this may help you again understand why the teenager is as crazy as they are sometimes. But anyway, that little life philosophy has helped me sometimes take a step back and be a little more patient with my teen when they're being crazy. Because then I can just say, well, it's their alien brain talking, not their human brain. And I have a little more patience with them. I hope that helps. On a more serious note, let's look at 3 things that really hinder the teenager in their communication ability. And a lot of, again, this has to do with their brain. Now, this information I get from, again, the fantastic book, Why Do They Act That Way? And I've referenced it before, and I'll reference it again. And if you haven't read it, and you're a parent of teens, or you work with teens, I highly recommend that you get this book. Okay, the first point we want to go over is that teenagers, research shows, have a very difficult time reading emotions correctly in other people. Therefore, they misread or misinterpret our emotion a lot of that time, and that gets them amped up. You may have had this experience with your teenager. Maybe you're having a discussion with them, you act a little surprised about something, maybe confused, maybe frustrated, and they automatically say you're angry with them, that you're upset with them, and then that gets them upset and they storm off, and you're left going, what the heck just happened? We were just having a conversation and they blew up and left, and they said I was angry and I wasn't angry at all. It's, again, this isn't just because they're being difficult. This is due in large part because they really do have a difficulty time reading emotions correctly in other people. So understanding this can help us as parents, again, be a little more patient with them, be a little more understanding when they kind of blow up over nothing, we may think. So what we can do as a parent is, when we're talking, especially maybe about more serious stuff, or maybe sometimes not, be very clear and spell out what we're feeling and what our emotions are. We might say something like, you need to know I'm not angry about this, but here's what I'm thinking and feeling. That way it kind of sets the stage that they know, okay, you're not angry, you know, you're maybe just confused or maybe a little frustrated, but that you're not angry with them. And so a big part of this is understanding, again, how emotions play a role in our teens' communication abilities. And so first, they misinterpret emotion. Second, because of where their brain development is at, the emotional part of their brain, the limbic system, and specifically the amygdala, where their anger and their fear comes from, is it in a heightened state during adolescence. It's in full operation, while the prefrontal cortex, or the logic thinking part of our brain, is not fully developed yet. And because of this, they react first and think about it second. And so again, they have this explosive emotional outburst when we're trying to talk to them about something, and it's not because they're being difficult or immature, it's because that's where their brain goes first thing. The emotions fire, and they misinterpret your emotion, and all of a sudden now our communication turns into a blow up in a fight. And again, we need to, as the parent, take a step back. And most importantly, one thing that we want to make sure we do is we have to stay calm. What we have to do, again, is take care of our emotional state in this moment. As an adult and as a fully developed brain, it really is, I believe, more on us to stay emotionally grounded when things get tense with our teenagers and when our communication starts to go awry. And finally, important part about this brain thing is that their braking system, or the ability to calm down emotionally, is what the author says is on back order. And so it's not here yet. We as the parents have to be that braking system for them. Now again, that's not by force, that's not by lecture, that's not by yelling. That's by staying calm, modeling good communication and emotion regulation skills as the parent. As a counselor and therapist that works with families and parents of teens and teens themselves and works with them together, is why I really work with parents in helping them understand the importance of us as the parent of teen to regulate our emotions. So therefore, I strongly encourage you to watch a couple of my videos on emotion regulation. One is understanding how to regulate your emotion, and the other one is 7 common distorted thinking patterns that helps us regulate our emotions. Because if we as parents can't regulate our emotions, then how can we expect our teens to regulate their emotions? And again, this is about communication. Why are we talking so much about emotions? Because my strong experience and belief is that the foundation tool and skill to communicate with anybody, but especially our teenagers, is to know how to regulate our emotions and know how to teach our teenagers how to regulate their emotions. And so that's key in all of this. And so if you have a hard time with keeping your emotions under control, especially when you and your teenager get heated, then you have to be able to learn the skills and the tools to, again, stay calm and to understand a couple of big don'ts when communicating with teenagers. And that is, definitely don't want to swear at them. Swearing at teenagers, or anybody at that matter, but especially our teens, if you're doing that, they're going to tune you out, or we're going to have a hard time with them swearing at us. Again, if we model it, they're going to follow and do it as well. We want to stay away from criticizing them, labeling them, name calling. As soon as we call them a name or criticize them, personally in that, you're being such a brat, you're difficult, you're impossible, or whatever other phrase or thing that we can call them or say to them, and a lot worse, I'm keeping this very tame, is not going to generate any kind of effective communication with our teens. And the other one, maybe the most difficult one for a lot of people, is we can't yell at them or elevate. If they start yelling at us and we think, well, we're going to calm them down by yelling at them. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody that likes to be yelled at. As adults, we don't like to be yelled at. When we were teens, we didn't like to be yelled at. Our teen doesn't like to be yelled at. Now again, you may be thinking, well, I don't know what else to do in that situation. Well, you may not know what to do, but don't yell, don't criticize, don't swear at. These are the big don'ts. And if you're doing these things, you may even consider, again, going to a counselor, going to a therapist, learning these specific skills in person with someone so that, again, you can model staying calm, regulating your emotions, and helping them regulate their emotions. I think those are the big things that help us communicate effectively with our teens. Now, another thing we can do is use the acronym of LOVE, L-U-V. And I'm just going to briefly go over that here, but again, I also have a video, how to stop arguing and listen better. And that's for, again, not only couples, but parents to teens. And in that video, I specifically go over these three things. L-U-V, listen with the intent to understand and validate. Again, watch that video to go more in detail and to understand that more specifically. But we definitely need to do that with our teens too. When they feel listened to, understood, and validated, we will have a good communication experience with them more often than not. Now again, another thing we have to understand is that, one, it's never going to be perfect when emotions are high. And we again have to understand that our teenagers are going to have a little bit of attitude and a little bit of mouthiness with us, and we can't freak out every time they get a little snippy or again have a little bit of attitude. We have to give them that somewhat, but we can't be giving it back to them as adults. We have to be the adult. We have to be the mature one, and we have to again model the behavior we want them to model to us. So I hope this was helpful. I hope by understanding these principles we can have better communication experiences with our teens. And when all else fails, remember, it's not their brain. It's an alien brain, and eventually they'll get their brain back. And when they do, it'll be a little easier to have a relationship and communicate with them more effectively on a regular basis. If this was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. But again, more importantly, share this with someone else, another parent that may be struggling with their teenager. And please comment in the comment section below of what you got out of this, and maybe some things that you found helpful in your relationship with your teen that's helped you communicate well with them. Until next time, make it a great day and make it a great week.